Hi, I'm Simon Hill, and you're watching Purebred Reds Adelaide United Fan TV.
Are you after the latest and greatest football kits, boots, goalkeeper gear, teamwear, accessories, or equipment? Look no further than South Australia's very own soccer specialty store, Soccer Locker. An Australian-owned and operated business, the store is located at Shop 5 of 181 to 183 Grange Road, Findon. Founded in 2012, Soccer Locker was introduced into the market to fulfill all the soccer-related needs of Australians, providing a huge range of quality clothing and equipment ranging from soccer balls, team kits, goalkeeper gear, accessories and much more. As well as stocking all current football merch from your favourite overseas teams, recently arrived stock also includes stunning retro kits from some of our favourite past eras as fans of the World Game. So get shopping now at our Findon store, open from Monday to Friday and open Saturdays from 9am to 3pm. Or visit us online and take advantage of free shipping from across Australia at soccerlocker.com.au.
G'day guys and welcome to the Purebred Reds Adelaide United Fan TV. I'm your host Ellis Gelios. We're coming to you with a preview of our game against Perth Glory on Friday night, and I'm joined by a former inaugural A-League player for Adelaide United. He went on to have a fantastic, legendary career in South Australia. I speak of Chad Bugeja. Chad, how you going?
Yeah, very well, thanks, mate. Very well.
Great to be with you. We've got a lot to get through, a lot of questions that I'm going to relate back to your career. We're going to obviously focus heavily on your career in South Australia and your time at Adelaide United. But before we do any of that, we're just going to quickly tick over a few things relating to Adelaide United's game on Friday night against Perth Glory with a distinguished former player in Chad Bugeja. So the game is a 6:35pm kickoff on Friday night at Cooper Stadium. If you can't get to the game, tune in as always on Fox Sports and the Kayo Sports app. Squads at the time of filming. So Chad, let's get straight into it. Carl Wiert's an ex-teammate of yours. Do you think he got the team lineup wrong last Saturday night against Brisbane Roar? It was a dreadful first half, but should he have tactically adjusted before that halftime whistle came, despite all the injuries that we had to contend with going into that match?
Look, it's quite a hard question because unless you're in that circle with the guys, it's just our opinion. So for myself, I'm very confident in Carl and his abilities. I'm very impressed, and I really like the way he's going about what he's doing at this point in time. I think he's a big enough professional that he's smart enough to make those changes if they're needed. And having the guys next to him as well on the bench, you know, in Ross and Ant, and you know, there's a lot of experience there, and I'm sure that if those changes needed to be made, I'm sure he would have.
Yeah, very solid answer. We've historically never been bad travellers, as you'll recall from all the way back in those 2005, 2006 days. Why do you think we're struggling so badly to replicate our home form on the road this season? We look at a completely different side when we've played away in the two games we've had. Is it a COVID thing? What is it, Chad?
No, look, I'm not going to, for me, I wouldn't be blaming COVID in any way, shape or form. These guys are professional footballers, and it's their livelihood to make sure they're in the right condition and not only physically, but mentally. And when it comes to home and away games, look, I'm a massive believer that your home should be your fortress, and but teams should also fear you when you do go away from home and play. And look, I'm a big believer in a unity. So a squad being a squad, and if a team can, I guess, bring themselves together as a whole, no matter whether you're at home, whether you're away, whatever formation you use, if you've got a good unit there and your team gets along with each other and behind the scenes is working well, there shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, definitely. You were in your early 20s back when you joined the club during 2005. Chad, the theme at the moment, as you'll know, being involved with your academy and still speaking to a lot of people within the inner circles of the A-League and Adelaide United, that the theme at the moment surrounds all the promising youth that we have at the club. Lots of good players in form, all under the age of 21. Given you've been involved in South Australian football for 2 decades and have gone on to coach junior teams in recent seasons as well, does it surprise you at all that we've got so many good players running around at the moment at the club?
I think it's a blessing in disguise, to be honest. The youth in South Australia, we do have a lot of good quality, and not just in the federation ranks. You know, there's a lot of leagues and teams out there that don't get recognition, and there's so many players behind the scenes that we don't see. I feel South Australia is an absolute abundance of quality players, and giving those players the right coaching and education is only going to give us a bigger pool of players to pick from. And I think Carl's actually going down the right track with this youth side of things, and I think he's building a team for the next couple of years that is going to be pretty dangerous, from what I can see so far, from a personal point of view.
Yeah, like I mentioned at the top of the interview, you're obviously ex-teammates with Carl. Do you still keep in touch at all?
No, unfortunately not. No, I was just a rookie back then. I wasn't really part of the inner circle myself. So when it comes to that side of things, no, I sort of do my own thing. And I use a lot of what I learned from those days back then in what I do now. In so many aspects of teaching young players about football.
Obviously, an attacking player yourself, though. Did Carl ever mentor you in those training sessions back in the day at all?
Yeah, there were some sessions where he did give me some pointers. Aurelio was also another one that was there to support me in building my game. You know, I'm not someone that come through the system. I'm a country boy that turned up in Adelaide and was lucky enough and fortunate enough that, when I say lucky, I worked hard. I worked very hard to get where I got and did what I did. You know, I wasn't handed anything. I worked for what I got. And I guess, you know, I guess not knowing what I was going into, it was all brand new for me. I didn't know what it was like to be a professional footballer. There was a lot to learn. From a personal perspective as well as a professional perspective. So, yeah, look, Carl, he was a good leader at the club back then. Really did help the young guys, but I think now, there's even more passion in him to bring silverware to the club.
Yeah, we love to hear that. So going into the game this Friday, are there any obvious changes you'd make aside to the lineup, aside from the guys that will presumably be coming back in after being rested last week in Tommy Juric and Javi Lopez? For me, that central defensive pairing, I don't know whether you want to comment on it, but the two centre-backs, Elsie and Jakobsen, I think we need to see that freshened up a little bit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, it's a tough question because it's a situation where, for me, I'm a big believer in trying to give players the opportunity to become that unit that I was talking about before. You can't just put a team out there and expect results in the first, you know, few games. You really need to build something with a group of players and have the trust of those that you've got on the bench that, you know, they will get their turn. There's plenty of games, you know, if they play their role. But I feel when it comes to the guys in the defence, I would like to see them be a little bit more like the defenders of old. You know, you don't get the space. You give someone a really good tackle when it's needed, just to remind them that you're there, and always then they'll be in the back of their mind, and they'll always be hesitant to turn, or they'll think twice about where you are. So for me personally, I don't have a problem with the boys back there. I'd just like to see a bit more toughness in the guys at the back. They've got size, they've got ability, they got strength and speed. So for me, no, I don't think they do. I think the boys just need to toughen up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that old school type of centre back that you just referenced is becoming more and more obsolete. Just talk to us back when you were at the club. Who out of the iconic defenders that we had back then did you sort of hate to be marked against the most?
Well, the sort of player I was, I didn't really let anyone mark me up.
Yeah.
So it was a situation where whoever I was up against, I didn't fear anyone. I thought of it as a challenge. If there was someone there that did give me a bit of grief, it was just a bit more for me to aspire and beat them. You know, put that ball past them, get past them, not let them catch you. Yeah, I'm sort of a player. I don't really look at defenders and go, oh no, I'm coming up against this guy or that guy. Yeah, I'm just a big believer in how do I get past them.
Fearless. I love it. So let's quickly touch on Perth. They touched us up last time out in Perth. It was only a couple of weeks ago, weirdly, but that's the way things are this season. They're coming off a huge win against Melbourne City on Sunday night. But what surprises me most about Perth at the moment, Chad, is that they're lesser known players in Kayo Armiento, who's a former Adelaide United player, very much a South Australian product, and Nicholas D'Agostino as well, are the ones doing all the headline grabbing at the moment going forward for Perth. And we very much expected that it would be the likes of Castro and Fornaroli delivering the goods for Perth instead. How much of a danger game is this going to be, in your opinion?
Well, Perth are the leading goal scorers at the moment in the league on the table. They've got the most goals for, and but at the same time, you know, both teams are also leaking just as many goals. It is going to be a very big game. This is going to be a game that can put United up in that top section of the ladder, or you know, make it quite a hard season for them if they don't get something out of this. I'm a big believer again in those the modern game coming with those defenders now becoming wingers. You're talking about Armiento and Dorigo and those sort of guys. Defenders are no longer just defenders. You know, they are suppliers. They do set up assists and goals for so many players. You look around the world and there's so many defenders now that are assisters at goals. And I feel that if we can keep those boys focused on doing that type of role and not just being a defender and trying to get themselves forward and support to score goals, and create numbers against the other team. I feel that's where we can really make a difference. But in going forward and doing that, you know, the players in that moment need to know their roles in covering them, etc. So it's a situation where I feel we can definitely get something out of the game if our wide boys do their thing and supply the ball in to the guys like Tommy and Tourés. So,
yeah, absolutely. So I'm not sure whether you want to touch on this or not, but there's been some news just breaking in the last 24 hours. The owner of Perth Glory, Tony Sage, has come out and said that he's sick and tired of Perth having to travel when everyone else has quite a sort of fair run of scheduling regarding to their home and away games. So he said that for the time being so this won't affect us in our game on Friday night, but post Friday night, he's just going to send the players home and they're going to kind of just wait and see how they're feeling before they commit to any future fixtures going forward. It's a big statement, and it's really the last thing the league needed after it was finally up and running, given all the complexities surrounding the nature of coronavirus. Is this a little bit rash from Tony Sage, or, you know, as someone that pays the bills, is he more than entitled to do this?
Yeah, it's another tough question. Look, he's the boss. I guess he makes the decisions, and at the end of the day, he needs to look after his players. And if he's feeling that these players are not getting the rest that they require, the recovery time, like all the other teams, to then get back out on the park and give their 110%. Yeah, I think it's a fair call. You know, you've got to look at these things, and the players are what keeps that club together. Without the players, you're not going to go anywhere, and you can't play games with tired players, injured players. You're not going to impress the fans.
Yeah, very good answer. So I've got to ask you for your prediction, Chad.
I'm going to go a draw.
Yep, everyone's been going a draw on this
Yeah,
show so far this season.
Yeah, I think the reason why I'm going to go a draw is looking at the past results. Both teams are, I think, 2 wins from the last 5 games. Both are scoring, both are leaking goals. So I got a feeling it'll either be a draw or there might be a late winner from someone.
Well, we'll wait and see what happens. We're going to get into your biographical career, Chad, finding out a little more about the man behind the player that is Chad Bugeja. So let's take it all the way back, Chad, to the beginning of your senior career, which began at White City in 2002, a club that you had a very strong affiliation with over various spells throughout your career. Goes without saying that you really killed it at White City. Eventually in 2005, noticed by local scouts and recruited for Adelaide United's inaugural A-League squad. Just tell us those years leading up to playing at Adelaide United in that inaugural season at White City. I'm sure some of the happiest in your career.
Yeah, most definitely. Look, I came from, like I said before, a country town, and I did aspire to come here and make it to the top level. That was my goal. That was my dream as a little kid, as it is for most. And when I did move here, it was just me. I come here by myself, with that dream, and I put a lot of hard work in to getting myself in a physical and mental state where I was able to enjoy my football and put some of my best football out on the pitch.
Can I pause you there? Can you take us back to why Adelaide? Because obviously from the country, just tell us why Adelaide.
Yeah, so Adelaide. Well, I'm originally from Broken Hill, so Adelaide for me was always the nearest city to us. So I guess it was a bit of a family connection as well. I've got family here in Adelaide. We always used to come down here as kids and for holidays. This was always the place to go. So it just sort of felt like the natural place to start off from.
Okay. Yep. And you were saying before, sorry to have interrupted.
No, that's cool. So yeah, when I did move here and I did start playing at White City, I was in a situation where hunger for me was the biggest thing. I was so hungry to show everyone that I could give them the goods and give them a bit of exciting football at the same time. I guess I am the sort of player that a little left of field, I guess, from what some people are used to here in South Australia. That's just me. I'm extremely passionate about the game, and White City were a club that I'm extremely grateful to for giving me the opportunity to play for them when I first moved here, because that, as you know, set me up to then get noticed by those scouts and have a trial with Adelaide United. So having someone like Ross's dad, Rocky Aloisi, as my coach at the time as well, that did play a part in myself having the opportunity to be recognised as well. Rocky's a fantastic coach. I've got a lot of respect for Rocky, and he was also good enough to give me a job when I first moved here. So a lot of respect for Rocky and what he did for me in those initial seasons when I got here.
Can I just quickly ask, is there any connection relating to your origin? I think you may have a Maltese heritage. Any Serbian background as well, or that didn't come into it?
No
Okay,
Serbian background. No, not at all. All Maltese Australian. Beautiful.
So we'll move on then. So let's get into it regarding your time in the A-League with Adelaide United. 9 matches, but absolutely hampered by injury whilst you spent your time at the club in that season. You've talked about how Kosmina obviously didn't seem to rate you when you were fit, but then wanted to utilise you when you were injured deep into that season, which is just bizarre and really goes to show that you did not have the rub of the green at all. Give us your account of that season as a whole and why you think you seem to have such rotten luck, Chad.
Look, I've thought about that season a lot over the years and what I could have done and how I could have changed things. But there are some small things that I could have done differently. Most of it, I wouldn't change a thing. I went out there as who I am, and that's what they got. When it comes to the injury side of things, there were a couple. I did get a pretty serious injury to my back towards the end of the season. But before that, I felt I was playing really good football. I was in some of the, my physical condition was fantastic. I think back then in comparison to now, the game has changed. Back then, as I was mentioning before, it was an older statesman type of football. A lot of older heads were out there. Today's game is a lot younger. I feel if I was one of those players now, things would be a lot different. But in the season itself as a whole, I do honestly feel I was a little bit hard done by at times, especially when you got players like Fernando Rex saying you should be in a starting lineup every week. It's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, but I understood my situation as a new player. I did try and put my best foot forward and do the right thing for the club and to the best of my ability. Like I said, I was a fresh face to it all. I've never been in these had never been in these atmospheres before, so it was all brand new for me. And to come out of that season with the inaugural Premier's trophy for me is it's an amazing achievement. No one's going to take it away from me. And whether I played 9 games, 2 games, 20 games, I was part of a team that created history. I'm extremely proud of that. And now I look at that as something that I can mentor young kids with what I do now. And I want to try and teach those kids how to do the right thing when and if they get that opportunity in that atmosphere.
You basically answered my next question, so I'm going to morph the two together. So despite the misfortunes that you had, you did go on to win a premiership medal, as you said there, which is just something that most of us football fans, to win a league winners medal at a professional club, can only dream of. Given all your good work leading up to having played at Adelaide United, all the promising moments that people would have seen when you were at Adelaide United, and that combined with all the injuries that you very much obviously endured, why did it come to the conclusion that it came to, whereby you were moved on? Because I dare say, despite having Fernando Rex in the squad, there wasn't any other real depth in terms of local attacking talent. So why did it go the way it went?
That's probably the best question you've asked. I'm going to put it straight out there, and I think it was things behind the scenes that I didn't know about. I think I know there were some things said that maybe put a sour taste in Cozzy's mouth that were untrue about myself.
You wouldn't be the first.
No, look, it hurt to get told what I got told by Cozzy at the time, because I felt that he was wrong in what he said in wanting to release me. I had so much passion. I had so much that I wanted to give to Adelaide and Adelaide United. It's you can't change the past. It is what it is. I don't hold grudges. Those guys taught me a lot. I'm extremely appreciative to everyone that gave me the opportunities that I had back then and have done since. But that doesn't mean that as humans we can't have those thoughts of why did you do this? Why didn't this happen? And so on. There's definitely regrets, and there's definitely things I wish hadn't have happened and weren't said at the club. But some things are just out of your control, and especially when you're a rookie at a club. So I don't feel it was a luck thing for me. I think maybe some players felt threatened, by my change, my ability and the way I could have changed the team and changed. Yeah, absolutely. So Yeah, it's a tough question to answer with just one answer. So I think there were multiple factors to why I was released.
You've addressed that beautifully, I think, mate. So we'll move on. After returning back to the club you love dearly, White City, for a stint there, you moved on to Adelaide City to play under Damien Murray. What was that like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was another experience playing for someone who is an Australian legend, current White City coach as well. Yeah, look, his style of play back then was something that was not how I played. So it was quite hard for me to fit into the way Damien wanted to play, and there were some things that some games, I should say, where I did what I do, and it didn't. It wasn't Damien's style of play at the time. So even though we had a pretty good season, that year for me was another eye opener when it comes to, I guess, being in an environment with professionals such as Damien.
Yep.
Yeah. So he taught me a lot.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. Can I ask you about the moment behind me just briefly? Ned Zelić, did you get to knock him around at all on that occasion?
I've been looking at that picture behind you, and I've got a funny story because Ned actually he gave me an elbow, and I've got a scar up on my eye from
Are you
Ned,
serious?
From that very game. Yeah. So it was a moment where I brushed past him, and as I pushed the ball past him, he was, as you can see, not in his younger days. So as I went past him, the old elbow came up, and I just copped a bit of an elbow from him. And
Jesus.
yeah, I was, that for me, that was an amazing moment for me to, go up against someone like Ned. It was an extreme honor. Yeah, absolutely. These are the guys I grew up with. Even though in Broken Hill we didn't get a lot of exposure, when we started getting exposure, these were all the guys that I was watching play.
No VAR back then, unfortunately for you, mate. So we'll move on there. So obviously an experience at Adelaide City. You then moved to Blue Eagles, another Italian club, the other big Italian club we have in South Australia, recording a half century of games and a very good conversion rate as well while you were there. Did you enjoy your time at the Azzurri?
Yeah, we had an amazing team. Those few years that I was with the guys, we put some trophies in the cabinet for the club, and we played some amazing football. That team for me was one of the best I've played with in South Australia. When I talk about before a team being a unit and being together and wanting to win as a group, that was a group exactly like that. We had the guys in defence who did their job and did their job very, very well. Our midfielders, we had guys in the midfield that could just breeze past players and put balls through for myself and Kim Harris, who was my strike partner at the time. And yeah, outside of training, outside of games, even at training, we were such a tight-knit group that the football we played was very, very pretty to watch sometimes, and we all thoroughly enjoyed our football, and we got rewarded for it at the end of the year. That
attacking pair up front has got to be one of the most lethal that we've seen in the history of the local game, mate. Pity I was a bit younger back in that time and didn't quite appreciate it as much as I would now. So after returning to White City again, where you played another 40 games, you then hung up the boots on your semi-professional career. You then headed to the New South Wales Riverina to play for Murray United before then joining Brahma Lodge, where you won last season's Player of the Year. It's been a legendary career for you at a local level, Chad. Why don't you reflect on some of your favourite moments going all the way back for us?
In local football, there's been quite a few actually. And the A-League. Okay, well, I'd have to say first up there, one moment that I'll never forget was the first trial I ever had at Adelaide United. We actually played beach volleyball at Sassy down there, but we were using, it was beach football, of course. And after that first trial session, I got a call the very next day from then boss Johnny Perrin. But I thought it was my friends pranking me. And Johnny got on the phone and he said to me, look, we're very interested at getting you to come in and have a chat. And some of my friends at the time, we'd prank each other here and there. And I said something to Johnny that I actually regret, and went into the conversation later on when I did get to talk to him and apologized profusely, because I really wasn't expecting from that first trial to be getting a call from John to then come in and have a chat to sign for the club. So that was a very funny start to my career with the club, an early learning curve. That's something I'll never forget. But then, you know, and the next big highlight was winning that trophy for the club. Winning that A-League trophy for me was the pinnacle of my career. You know, it's what all players in football strive to, you know, winning something at the top level. Moving forward from there, I think having the opportunity to work with so many good coaches as a player, to have people like Kosi, Milan Ivanovic, Rocky Aloisi, you know, these guys are Australian legends. Damien Murray, another one. You know, I've been coached by some of Australia's best, and for me, it's an extreme honour to have been coached by those guys and be able to take away what I have, because it's now taught me a lot about what I can pass on to the youth, and that puts such a good feeling inside of me that you know, I now do what I do with such a passion, thanks to those moments throughout my career. When it comes to the lower side of things, being released was definitely the low point. Being released was the low point of my career. Next to that, I'd have to say being relegated with White City. That was not a pleasant one either. So I've been at, you know, all ends of the spectrum when it comes to winning, losing, all the emotions of football. I've been through them all. I think a highlight, though, if I have a highlight overall, I think a highlight for me, the fact is I'm still playing. To be able to do what I do, regretfully saying I'm almost 40, and, you know, being able to turn my legs over and play some good football like I did last year, and
still winning awards as well, mate.
Sorry, say again? Still
winning awards as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. Last year I was extremely honoured to win. I think I got about 4 or 5 awards from the club and from the association for the season, and that was an extreme honour, because, you know, again, at my age, it's not something you really expect. I just have a huge passion for the game, and every time I go out on that pitch, that passion comes with me, and I think everyone on the pitch with me and even on the sidelines can see the type of player I am, and the passion that I have for the game, and giving to the youth of Adelaide and South Australia now is one of my prime goals in life, is to try and recreate players better than me.
You just love to see it, Chad, as a fan of football in South Australia, someone as passionate as you that embodies such knowledge and wisdom, and having had so many experiences as well. It's a perfect segue to talk about the Chad Bugeja Football Academy. So tell us how it's all going, and any future plans you may have, and where it all sits in the overall scheme of things, because obviously it's becoming quite saturated now in the South Australian market. There's a lot of academies out there. So tell us why yours is the best.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of good academies out there. In saying mine's the best, I'm not going to say that at this point in time. Because there's other guys out there, you know, like Adelaide United players with Marcelo and Kayo, who have put together their own things. Marcos as well, Flores. Yes, there is a bit of a saturated market, but I feel that market sort of tailors towards only players that can afford to go into those sort of academies. Being someone from a small country town who I didn't have these opportunities to be coached by these players and go into academies and things like that. Not that many of us did back then. I feel, for me personally, I would like to give back to kids that aren't as fortunate, you know, it's the kids that maybe can't afford to come and do these academies on a regular basis. And I feel that, you know, there's other leagues and there's other teams in South Australia that have so many good players with so much potential that that's sort of where I think CB23 football is heading. I want to help those kids that want to play football, who were a little less fortunate, like myself, in growing up. You know, we didn't have the exposure or the ability or the finances to do everything we wanted to and travel where we needed to get the job done. So when it comes to CB23 football and where we're heading, for me in 2021, it's going to be looking at helping those a little bit less fortunate, I guess, when it comes to having the chance to come out and train with someone like myself. I strive so hard to bring the fundamentals into young players, teach the kids how to pass a ball properly, how to control a ball properly. The small things is what I look at in our training sessions, because if you can't do those small things, the rest of the game isn't going to work. And it takes time. Time is one of the biggest things, and passion from a young footballer is also what it takes. I've got a young lad that I've been coaching now for over a year, and he's starting to get a lot of exposure through some other academies as well, because he loves his football and he goes and does quite a few. But I think it's more than just the fact that he goes to so many academies. I think it's the fact that this kid loves football. He's got a football at his feet every single day. In the mornings, he wakes up and he does his push-ups and sit-ups and his juggles, and football's on his brain all the time. So for me, it's getting hold of those sorts of players and giving them the opportunity they deserve, and then let the football do the talking. For me, that's what I did. I let the football do the talking, and I was fortunate and worked hard enough that it got me where I wanted to go. So CB23 is definitely a company wanting to help those that need it.
Yeah, really well said. And just tell us structurally where you're based, what the setup is going to be for prospective participants, what nights it's on, anything else just in regards to basic info that you want to throw out there.
Yeah, look, if anyone does want info on my training, feel free to get in contact through Facebook on CB23 Football Academy. Moving forward, I'm going to be actually changing the structure of my business quite a lot to suit what I was just talking about in giving ability to those kids that are a little bit less fortunate. So far, I've been doing a lot of one-on-one coaching and a couple of group sessions here and there, but I believe I have the ability to give so much more to so many more, that I'm going to look at going into clubs and not only coaching kids, the fundamentals of football, but also coaches, dads, people that, you know, volunteer to coach these kids, and they don't have the football knowledge that someone like myself may have. And for me, I feel that children are then missing out on some of the most important parts of football. So I want to go into these clubs and give not only the players, but give the club and coaches something they can then use over the next few years to create these teams and these players that I feel can be created in South Australia.
Well, Chad, it's been fascinating speaking to you. We wish you all the very best with your academy, with Brahma Lodge next season. And hopefully at some point we can reconnect and get you back on the show for your thoughts on everything Adelaide United and everything regarding the South Australian football scene. Absolute pleasure to interview you today. It's been a very insightful interview, and just hearing from one of those inaugural premiership winners as well, from all the way back then. It's brilliant to have the fans get the insights that you've delivered today. So, mate, we wish you all the very best for your future, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure. Cheers. Good luck, United.